Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip. My name is Julian, and we're here with an episode about the injury report for Week 13 of the fantasy hockey season. Before we get started, guys, leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow me on Twitter. I would really appreciate your support. The injury report this week, guys, not too bad. There's not too many players on it, which is great considering that we're heading into the playoffs. Now we're going to jump into some longer-term injuries. First is Frederik Andersen, Toronto Maple Leafs 78% owned, still dealing with that lower body injury. And the Leafs went out and got David Rittich at the trade deadline. So what that tells me is that Andersen is nowhere near ready and probably won't be playing for the rest of the year, guys. So you can go ahead and safely drop him. Jack Campbell will continue to get almost all of the starts for the Leafs in the meantime. Next is Carter Verhaeghe, Florida Panthers, 68% owned, dealing with an upper body injury, and he unfortunately is weak to week, so he won't be too helpful in your playoffs unless you make the semifinals or maybe even the finals. He's not going to be able to be there for you guys. If you're absolutely desperate and you need someone to directly replace Verhaeghe, well, Wenberg has been promoted to the top power play in Florida, so he makes for a decent ad. Next is Tyler Seguin, Dallas Stars, 64% owned. Still dealing with that hip injury that he's been dealing with the entire season. He hasn't played the entire season. And he was supposed to be back by now, so unfortunately this news kind of sucks. But this news tells us that he should be back the 26th, which is the Monday in 2 weeks from now. That means that he'll be back for the semifinals in most leagues. So if you make the semifinals, Tyler Seguin joining your team should really help you to carry you through the semifinals and hopefully the finals and the championship. Next are Alexander Radulov and Ben Bishop of the Dallas Stars, and both were ruled out for the rest of the season, unfortunately. So if you own either of these guys, now is the time to drop them. The same thing with Zach Werenski, Columbus Blue Jackets. He's also been ruled out the rest of the season, so there's no reason to hold on to him any longer. Next is Steven Stamkos, Tampa Bay Lightning, 98% owned, dealing with that undisclosed injury, and he's currently being evaluated in Tampa, so hopefully it's nothing too serious, but he missed the last couple of games. Hopefully he could be back as soon as Thursday's game, but we don't really know. In the meantime, guys, if you need a replacement, Alex Killorn is an okay fill-in, although he's not playing with the greatest line mates, but he is still getting top power play time. Next is Philip Grubauer, and he tested positive yesterday for COVID, and because of that, he missed the game. Now, if he actually does have COVID, he may miss the next couple weeks. So if you were relying on him for your fantasy playoffs, that's not looking great because I don't even know who's going to be the guy to replace him. Will it be Dubnyk? Will it be Johansson? They're both not very good goalies, and I wouldn't like to rely on either of them. Hopefully, though, it was a false positive, and Grubauer will be back next game if that is the case. Next is Carey Price, Montreal Canadiens, 94% owned, dealing with also an undisclosed injury, but he should also be back pretty soon. Seems like he's progressing in recovery. He's skating and he's practicing. He missed yesterday's game, but he may not miss any more games. If he does, Jake Allen will continue to serve as a very serviceable backup. Next is Blake Wheeler, Winnipeg Jets, 89% owned, dealing with a concussion, but coach Paul Maurice of the Jets hopes that he will be back on Saturday. So by that logic, there is a pretty significant chance that he will be back on Saturday. If not, he could be back as soon as early next week. Next is Evgeny Malkin, Pittsburgh Penguins, 89% owned, dealing with that lower body injury. He's been skating for a whole week now, and he is now eligible to rejoin the team because he has served the whole long-term injured reserve time. Which is good news for the Penguins fans. He could be back as soon as late this week or early next week. Until then, guys, Jared McCann is a very good streamer. He's been playing top power play and has been doing very well as a second-line center. Next is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Edmonton Oilers, 89% owned. He's skating, but he's not practicing with the team. So there's a good chance that he doesn't play on Friday, but the coach still hopes that he will practice with the team on Thursday, which would make him eligible for Friday and Saturday's game. Honestly, though, the best case scenario for fantasy would be if they keep Nugent-Hopkins out for the next 4 games and keep him on the IR. That way, we don't have to deal with the Oilers' crappy schedule, and we can stream somebody else in his place instead. Next is William Nylander, Toronto Maple Leafs, 89% owned. He's on the COVID list, but he is expected to be back Saturday, April 17th. Next is Tuukka Rask, Boston Bruins, 89% owned. He was dealing with that upper body injury, but he's already been confirmed to start the game on Thursday, so roll him out as you normally would, guys. Next is Roope Hintz, Dallas Stars, 72% owned, and he's been kind of, a game time decision almost the entire year. This is no different, guys. He should play on Thursday, but if he doesn't, just have someone else just in case. Next is Yaroslav Halak, Boston Bruins, 62% owned. He's still on the COVID list, but that's less serious now for the Bruins since Rask is back and should be getting pretty much all the starts. Next is Jacob Vrana, Detroit Red Wings, 48% owned, and he was recently traded. Yahoo has him as day-to-day, that's why I have him on this list, but he's not injured and he should play on Thursday with the Detroit Red Wings. One thing to note, he's playing on a pretty bad second line and he's not being given top power play time, so I'm not expecting huge things from him, but you might as well, if you have him, hold on to him and see how he does. Next is Matt Grzelcyk, Boston Bruins, 37% owned, dealing with an upper body injury, and he's been injury prone really the entire season. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. When he is healthy, he's done well, but it's been rough for him. In the meantime, while Grzelcyk is out, we don't know how long that's going to be. Mike Riley is a very good streamer since they just traded for him, and he's currently getting the power play one time in Boston. Next is Nick Foligno, Toronto Maple Leafs, 28% owned, and he was traded from the Blue Jackets to the Maple Leafs at the deadline, and because he's traded to Canada, he has to do a 7-day quarantine. That's due to end on Monday, so he should be ready to play on Tuesday. Next is Linus Ullmark, Buffalo Sabres, 24% owned, dealing with an undisclosed injury, and we don't really have any information at all surrounding this. We don't know how long it's going to be, but as long as Ullmark is out, Dustin Tokarski makes for a decent streamer in leagues where saves count as points because Buffalo goalies are going to continue to be pelted with shots. Next is Matt Duchene, Nashville Predators, 21% owned, still dealing with his lower body injury, but he hopes to come back within the next week or two, which is good news if you're in super deep league and you still have Duchene on your team. Next is Pavel Zacha, New Jersey Devils, 12% owned, dealing with an undisclosed injury, but it seems to be really day-to-day, so I don't expect him to miss too many more games. If he does, guys, Nico Hischier is taking his spot on the second line. And last but not least is Gustav Nyquist, Columbus Blue Jackets, 1% owned, and don't forget about him. He should be returning to the lineup this week. He's missed the entire season so far, but he's a good player, and if you're in a very deep league and you need someone that's going to be able to put in some points, well, Gustav Nyquist might be that guy for you. All right, guys, you've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I really appreciate it. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, ask me a fantasy hockey related question. I'll be happy to answer you. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.